Joining me now to help break all this down, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Doug Chanco. Doug, thank you so much for joining us. First, I just want to ask you generally, did you agree with the verdict or not in this case?
Verdict makes sense, plain and simple. The facts of that story.
And this jury, you know, in terms of the deliberating, 7 hours, 15 minutes, to me that means that even if the story didn't make sense, they went through the evidence. They did their job. They must have either had one or two holdouts or in the alternative, took their time to go through all of the evidence and at least consider his story to reach a unanimous verdict. What do you think of the 7 hour, 15-minute amount of time that they deliberated?
You know, with juries, you can never tell. Short verdicts, people will say, oh, that's a fast conviction. Long verdicts, they'll say it's a holdout for an acquittal. You just never know. But it makes a lot of sense that the evidence is where they were deliberating. Because if you listen to the story, one of the oldest ways to defend a case is somebody else did it. And that's what he threw up there. Somebody else's did it. But where was the evidence to go with it? And that's exactly what I think this jury spent 7 hours looking at, is where was the evidence? It wasn't there. There would have been things in the trunk. There would have been things in the cars. In order to show the DNA, it didn't have it. And therefore, I don't think they had anything to hang their hat on.
Well, you know, you're right, Doug. They said somebody else did it, but there were different places they tried to point the finger. So we know that the defendant testified and said, oh, there are these two people, these two men who made me drive them so they could kill Molly Tibbetts. But there was also the boyfriend of Molly Tibbetts, Dalton Jack. There has been a lot of talk about people felt bad for the way that he was cross-examined and how he was treated by the defense. I stand by the defense attorneys have a job to zealously represent their client. What I'd like to do with you now is listen to some of the cross-examination and then visit that with you to see if you think the defense crossed a line or if they did what they had to do to try to get an acquittal in this case.
Explain to me why you only tried to call your girlfriend who was missing one time in the days following her disappearance.
I don't know. I've tried to get other people to look for her as well.
She's the love of your life, right?
Yes.
And you're not blowing up her phone?
I don't know if I did or not, but I don't know why I would only call her one time.
Dalton Jack did not do this, okay? Let's just put that out of everybody's mind, okay? He was working construction in Dubuque with Jasper Construction. Dalton Jack did not do this, did not commit this murder. He was raked across the coals at trial. I thought he actually handled himself pretty well. He didn't do it. He didn't behave like a person who did it. He was not anywhere near Brooklyn on July 18th of 2018. He was distraught the next day. His boss ended up letting him go home because he could not find Molly. If somebody like that would have committed this crime, why would they want to go anywhere near Brooklyn, Iowa? Why would they ever want to go back? Why would they ever want to have it, you know, they would want to stay as far away from there as possible. So yeah, put that out. I would like people to put it out of their minds. Dalton Jack didn't do this. He was vetted. I guarantee you he was vetted. That just like Agent Valletta described at trial, we start with people who are closest to Molly. He was closest, well, other than maybe her immediate family, he was closest to her. He was interviewed, he was vetted, they picked through his background. Some of that came out at trial. And I can tell you from looking at all this, he did not do this. The person that did it was convicted. So they want to make Dalton Jack another suspect. That's what they tried to do. It didn't work. And it didn't work because there's no evidence that supports it. That's why.
Doug, would you agree and go so far to say that he was actually raked across the coals? Or do you think that the defense attorneys did a good job trying to point the finger, but really not overly blaming or casting doubt on that particular witness?
There's a really fine line when you're examining a witness, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what the jury believes. If they believe that that witness is being raked over the coals, even if everybody else didn't, that's all that matters, because they get to make the final say. Now, the ultimate goal is to get that jury to come to the conclusion you want. You've got to be so careful with a witness like this to be able to put the idea out there without stepping over the line. In this case, it sounds like a lot of people think they went too far. I think I would have done something very, very similar because it's what they had to work with.
Right. You're right. It's what you have to work with. And when you're representing your client zealously, you have to do that. You have to get up there and make the best case that you can. What might you have done as a criminal defense attorney differently, if anything, to try to not have a first-degree murder conviction in this case?
The hardest thing is when you have a client that wants to testify. You've got to let them do it. That's their right. It's not the lawyer's choice as to whether or not, when somebody's fighting for their life, if they are or not going to testify. Now, it can go really well for you if a client can relate to the jury. But putting up a story that made it more difficult for a jury to say, I want to help and reach an acquittal or anything besides a first-degree murder charge, I don't think it helped for him. I would have stressed to not have him testify. And maybe I would have tried to let the jury reach the conclusions I wanted a little more, as opposed to trying to push for your position, because it did feel like it. It felt like the defense was pushing their theory through too aggressively.
And I'd like to switch gears a little bit to appeal. And in the last minute or so that we have remaining, tell me, everybody thinks, of course it's going to be appealed. But the reality is you have to look at the evidence that was allowed in, not allowed in, what decisions were made during the trial to see whether or not there are actual grounds to appeal. If you were to look into a crystal ball, do you expect an appeal in this case? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
I would imagine we're going to have an appeal at some point, because this is a young man who, again, is fighting for his life. If he doesn't appeal, he has the sentence in July. I would be shocked if they do not have a maximum sentence in this particular case for him, based on what we've heard in the evidence and what the judge had to work with. So because of that, even if the appeal is not going to be granted or successful, I still think they're going to go forward and try and put something up there to see if they are able to get in front of that court.
And I know that during the press conference after the verdict was read, the defense said, listen, we had a motion in limine. We didn't agree with the judge's rulings. We've said that. We still don't agree. What is a motion in limine for all our viewers, just really quickly?
Sure. So the hardest part in every trial is that there's so many things that just don't get brought out, that every lawyer says, man, that's the most important thing. I really wanted to get in there. But there's a lot of evidence or facts or witnesses, for whatever reason, that doesn't get in. And that's what those motions relate to, is what are we going to actually let the jury hear in this case? In this particular set of facts, there is evidence that the defense wanted to be able to put up, to be able to put their theory out there. They didn't get to do it. I would imagine that's where they're going to start with their appeals, say, if we'd had this, we could have had a different outcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Doug. We are going to keep you with us because we have a lot more ahead this hour. We are going to get you ready for the next big trial we are covering. You will not want to miss